Hello, everybody. Welcome back to some more Tutorial Mordheim. Now, today I wanted to talk about a few things here that I think's really important. Maybe not at this stage of the game for this team, as we are a little bit more leveled up. But this character right here is a perfect example of what I mean when you are starting out a new warband and how to try and equip your team. Now, one thing to keep in mind is the first thing you will always check is your shop after final units, of course. If they don't have anything that is of blue quality that you really want, and say most of your team has a lot of one-handers, mercenaries are a great example of this. They often come with dual wield or one-handers when you're very low on points. Like here, he has his default points. Now, an important thing to keep in mind, I say this quite a bit, especially with henchmen. My usual thought process is the breakpoints of points. In the offensive category, strategic is whatever. You don't have to worry about those too much. But when you only have 3 points on a henchman or 5 points, usually it is better to try and use a two-handed weapon. And the reason for that is you might think, hey, a mace gives me hit chance and a shield is really nice for defensive, but you're giving up a lot of potential damage as you're only ever going to get one strike anyway. Now, you could alternatively dual wield maces for a good chunk of 8% hit chance. This is an okay choice. If you have the maces, you can definitely do that. However, the thing with dual wielding is that your damage will be cut by 25% at all times. Opposed to this, if you look at something like a great axe or, say, a great hammer, you're going to see that the damage is way, way higher. That the other thing with two-handing, that you don't take any damage cut until you've taken your first swing. So the first swing's going to hit for the exact number you should be expecting. Obviously, your strength modifier. That's really, really important when you're only going to get one swing anyway. So this is going to hit for full damage, especially when you're charging. It's just so much damage. And you are giving up your hit chance, though in the early game Mordheim, it is definitely one of the most out of your hands experiences as far as Mordheim is concerned. You just really do not have much control as you'd like that you get around the level 3 to 5 range that most characters. Now, one thing I will say is if your shop does have a lot of blue weapons or even a masterwork quality or the purple rating, you're obviously going to use those even if it's a one-hander. But if you do get one of those, you're probably going to be slapping that on a hero. Mostly leaders, if they're melee focused. He is very melee focused. But if you do not get any good options as far as weapons, or other weapons your warband can't even use, then yes, you're going to be looking towards two-handers in most situations. Now, for heroes, this is slightly different. We'll go ahead and we're going to perhaps waste some money here because we have to look at it from base point. Actually, we won't. Usually heroes have about 5 instead of 6. Level 3 is when you get your first offensive point. That's usually when you can make your change to one-handers if you wish, if you have a good choice. But with heroes, they're going to have 5. Now, the thing with that is even at 5, you're going to get 2 swings, and your second swing will be 15% less damage. However, a thing with 5 offensive points that you may want to keep in mind is charging with a dual wield or two-handed character means you cannot swing a second time. So that's another thing that's really important. And you can wait that if you really want a character to be charging into battle. Not a bad option. However, I wouldn't recommend it. What you should probably do is any heroes that have two-handers, do not set them to charge. If they can't reach, then assume they won't make it. Or if you just really need to make that attempt on the swing, would not recommend it. It's going to be better to just walk up and swing for 2 offensive points and then get a second swing for 3. I don't. It's just better, because you're getting effectively 200% weapon damage. Well, there's a 15%, but effectively 2 weapon swings versus 1 swing that is 50% stronger. It is a small difference, except if you charge, you get that 10%. So usually I'd say just, maybe avoid it if you can. That's the main basis of it, and I think that's really important to really choose to do, because early game Mordheim is always the worst. Really, really have to keep that in mind. Here's a perfect mission. Now, I won't be able to show off what I'm talking about because all of our characters are decently leveled here. He is definitely one we can use. He even has the Great Axe, as you can see. Blue quality, perfect use for him. Now, I will say you should always gear up your heroes before your henchmen in most scenarios, unless your heroes are vastly underleveled. Say one of your heroes has to be replaced and you're bringing along a hero. Definitely do not.
Your scouts have discovered a rival warband in the vicinity.
Now, another very important thing we're going to talk about here,
making them a very attractive target.
Now, this is another thing that can be really tough to handle. At least as far as, and this applies to all game, but it's even more important in the early game. You know, the point where you might not have full knowledge of this. It took me quite some time personally, whether it's obvious or not. It took me some time to get used to it, and that is utilizing your characters effectively. I don't know if this is the correct way to look at it, but abusing the AI tendencies characters, specifically your melee characters when they get lower health values, because the AI will always prioritize any attempt to remove a character from the battle if they're lower health, even if it's detrimental to that unit. Go into that situation, they will focus. Only difference there that they might not do such a thing is if you have another character, combating their units close by. So if there's 2 units in melee combat, they will more than likely try to prioritize that unit to force an all-alone check. Once we get in close here, that is definitely going to try to show off. Get our caster here far up as we can. See, he's a perfect example of this. As his health is 153, that is probably our lowest health by a nice margin. Actually, he's a little bit lower with 20%, and he has just basic cloth armor, so he has 0%. Now, I don't know this one, but I don't think the AI prioritizes armor absorption on a character, and if they do, it's not weighted properly. Always just look at the flat health value. Within some reason. I know we've talked about it, that, they will go to try and remove it if they're in range. Now, here's another one. I believe I talked about this already, but I don't really want him to be our first engage against the enemy. So I'm going to keep him back a little bit. Now, you can hide in this corner. You might think, yes, they will be coming here, and that would be correct. However, they shouldn't be reaching, but for the sake of it, we can assume they are. If this character's sitting here and you're just trying to hide it so they can't get a charge, you may think to end the turn with an ambush stance. Try not to do that, because I'll show you here as soon as his next turn happens. But going into a ambush stance or an overwatch like that is going to waste 2 points. And what we'll see here in a second when our leader gets a turn is there's no chance this character specifically is going to get that ambush there. What we're trying to do is just make sure if they get around that corner, they don't get the charge benefit. get around the corner here. Now, if you don't want to spend the points to do a perception check, just assume all things on the ground are traps, and you can get around it. One pitfall I ran into a lot myself on my first, first good few warbands is instead of using perception, I would just run over things to check if they were traps, which is fine, but in retrospect, that was an incredibly greedy thing. But yes, we can see here his zone of control. You can see that it's kind of poking out around the corner here. So there's no chance that when the enemy unit comes into attack, that they're not going to just run directly into this, preventing any chance of an ambush. Now, you did prevent the charge from the enemy, which is good. Very good. However, now you've wasted 2 points on an ambush that had no hope of hitting when you would rather have, 2 extra swings. And much, much better. And that's an important thing to do, especially when dual wielding. Weighting how important it is strategically. Now, this character, I'm perfectly okay with him being the first to engage. And the way I'm going to do that, this is just another point here, is when you look at these, we could set him here, and he would absolutely be the first to engage. However, because he would charge potentially into that building, that just leaves him fighting by himself, which isn't a problem. However, it's much more effective to leave spots open so more of your team can surround the enemy. Very, very important to keep that in mind. 1v1s can work. However, your best bet is always to get more of us around, not for the all-alone check, but to really just get more effective damage out of them so you're not losing any offensive points. In terms of the character has to just end his turn watching him fight, that's no good. And could run around to try and surround him, but now you can get surrounded. It's just a lot more risk that you don't need to take. Plan it. So my plan here for this level, because the stairs are out, could hop down probably over here or over here, but what I'm hoping to do is to catch them all as they're coming up here with our archers is my hope. Now, another interesting thing here as well, they seem to be going slow, and always be sure to check what when you mouse over them, what their armor amount is. How much are they reducing their damage? And try to base that, on which characters you can expect to see sooner. As you can see, they're at 25%. Gives us 2 options. They can be wearing a blue quality of light armor, but that's unlikely on a henchman. More than likely, they are wearing heavy armor. And the reason that can be 2 different things is because of how it works out, with light armor being a 10% increase in armor absorption per rank versus heavy armor's 15. And where that really ends is when they're on blue quality, they just wear a helmet for an extra 5%. Now, again, this is really not something you need to worry about too much, especially this early on. Until your full team is equipped with their own blue quality gear with blue weapons, don't expect them to be wearing any armor that's that high up. The only chance of this is with the undead. They are likely to put all of their effective warrior points through gear on their leader and nothing else, which can be useful, especially if they equip their leader with heavy armor, because you can know just to avoid their leader, try to take everything out around him. Definitely on the undead, if you can avoid their leader for as long as possible or never engage in any battles with him, I heavily recommend it. because you either have to commit your whole team to taking him down, or you're just going to have a bad time. Unless you have a character that's maybe very, very tanky, very evasive, that you know can take all of that damage while you wait. I don't know if this is a trap, so setting an ambush here is another mistake. I'm going to put him up here.
A new round has started.
Okay, so turn here. We'll just go ahead and run out here and check it. Now, this is likely a trap. Actually, yeah, there we go. Okay. I thought so. Yeah, see, now this was 25% poison resist. That could have been much, much worse and been a 25%. Now, there's our 2 targets, funny enough. This is more rare with these kind of starts than you do of them. Leader's not wearing any heavy armor. Do we expect them to reach this point? I'm going to say the answer is yes. Now, a thing to keep in mind here is positioning is, can we stop them? They're going to go up the stairs. That is their closest target. Get up here to start fighting. And if we stop it, what they're going to aim for next is there's a climb point. You should always keep all the alleyways or avenues that they're going to use in mind when trying to set up your units. Do we expect these units to make the distance? At 5 points, I think it's likely they could get here, maybe climb. Their whole team is here, so I think we're better off just letting them make the distance. Now, I did make a mistake taking that trap. That is definitely a mistake on my part. I should not have done that. As now he can't retreat all the way back. So my plan here to show, and I guess maybe we'll try to commit to that here, if possible. So which units do we have to worry about? We have 58 and 61. 61's in the building here. I doubt they're going to make all the distance. And then we have the 58 here. They're super late on the turn. That's another way you can tell, is just based off of their initiative. Kind of get an idea of what kind of gear they're wearing, if it is heavy armor or not. So say this one here with the 25%. At a 38 initiative, that's more than likely heavy armor or a really slow weapon. However, it would have to be blue quality, so we know for sure it is not. But there is a lot of ways to tell or take a very good guess on what a character is wearing. Now, these are no-brainers. That is most likely just a helmet, and you can see it lightly from here that she is wearing a helmet. So she has basic cloth armor. She does have a shield on. So the main thing is we want to look at this character here. She is probably going to come up here and hopefully get caught by them. Now, if she makes the distance to here, she's probably going to try and run for him because she'll be popping out here, which is cool. She may run this way, and that would be a mistake on my part if she does. What we'll do, just to be a little bit safe, we'll just walk him back to about here. And we'll set him up with an overwatch to hopefully catch any of them trying to get to this point and just stopping them. But the main goal is, if we put our archers here, we need to stop them from being able to get up ways. But it looks like the stairs are there, so that is unlikely. It ended up not being a good plan, and these things will happen. Important thing is kind of planning ahead on what you want to do. Now, this unit is not my frontline runner. And yeah, we could just keep them here. That'd be fine. However, there's 3 units about to take a turn with one of them potentially getting close. We're actually going to delay his turn. Try to get him to be effective. And if you're going to delay turns with units, it does always push them back by 3. Did prioritize coming for the archer there and did not make it. Okay, that does change our plan a little bit. Not quite sure why she went for him over just, say, going another way, but that's okay. We can just run him out of there. Now that's kind of grouping them up a lot better here. I think we can use this alleyway here. Fight them. My plan has changed a little bit. Oh, I see. They can actually climb up here instead if they wish to. So there is a lot of ways of attack they can take. And with archers, one thing to keep in mind, and really just look at it, is does it look like being up there would be helpful? And once they get close, is it going to be a problem? In this case, we're trying to take the fight here. If they're up there, they can shoot from here. And you can see there's just a building right there. So this window would probably give them range into here. Which is fine. You can set this up. However, what you have to also consider is, will they climb up after them? The fighting's there and they have no other way to attack us. They may just choose to go there. Really don't want your unit sitting there for no reason and getting caught. I think we're still going to hold where we are. Do see a potential option here for our gunman and maybe our hero archer as well. We're going to try to climb on a 70%, and we're lucky and actually hit it. What I want him to do is run out here, hold this ground at the height. With this being 2 stories of height, actually get a lot higher chance to hit. With a blue gun, that is really, really nice to have. Good with all weapons, but guns are really, really good for Overwatch. And that is really the main thing of it all, is you have to weight how good your Overwatch is over taking the damage. Okay, let's just look for potential traps here. Are there any? It appears to be none. I found the only one, by sheer luck, I guessed the right one. Okay, so what I'm going to do here, I'm actually going to set him here as an option with a pin. And that might seem strange, but it's something I've been messing with personally as a little bit more. If you can weight this. Now, this is something that may seem obvious once you think about it. But if you would look at a character like this one here, if you look at her debuffs, there is no debuff for dual wielding or two-handed. And you can see that if they have it. Like here, it'll say dual wielding. Have 25% less damage. She does not have that. So if she were to come up the stairs, see him, the AI have this problem that they will never choose to not charge if the option is available. And what you can do with some of your offensive points, if you see a character that could effectively use their offensive points to the fullest, like say this character here, it's the same thing. She has 5 offensive points. She can swing for 2 and then swing for 3, given that she doesn't charge. That is more effective damage that she could use, and it's a second chance to potentially eat. So for her, if she were to come up here and see him, she would charge and swing. Now, she could potentially hit him and do a ton of damage. However, it will be less effective overall damage unless the charge hits and crits, but you can never really play around that. And most characters I build are built high enough that crits become less of an issue. And more and more I play, it becomes more and more most important factor. Probably go over that a little bit more. If I haven't already, we're going to again. On how important it is to have 9 toughness exactly, and then grabbing resilient in training later. But yes, if we could bait her into charging, she'd spend 3 points on the charge and only have 2 left, be unable to swing again. Much, much better. And then you're still trying to get lucky that she misses it, as a charge does have the extra 10% less chance. If I can get the words out effectively. This character, probably going to do the same. We're just going to set him probably over here. The reason for that is I just don't want to give them the chance to go up there and attack my range. Now, I doubt him being able to get all the way up there. So what I'm actually going to do is put him a little bit up the stairs here. And the reason for that is this is high enough to count as an extra height. So if any of them come up the stairs, be able to fire at them, get an extra 10% hit chance. Really, really nice. Are going to retreat this hero out of there, start of the next turn. Then we're going to try to get him up to the top layer or take the spot that the other character used. So we do have a moment here. And he's not going to be ahead anything. A two-hander at this slow, he's more of a fight ender than he is a starter. Now this is a neat little trick. If you're not sure if an item's up there, you can scroll out a little bit just to look. You honestly should scroll out every character, but I often forget. So we know there's an item up there. In this case, I'm not going to risk it at the moment because I think our fighting's going to begin. Even that wordstone, I think it's the same deal. Picking up wordstone is a potentially bad option because you can get a lot of really poor debuffs. Now, you can greed this, because there's a lot of debuffs that don't do a whole lot of anything to some characters.
A new round has started.
Your ranged ability, that can be tough, but range resistance is the smallest of stats in terms of any of it. I have no idea where she just went. Appears to be stuck. So, what can happen from this now is we're definitely going to run this guy away because I don't know when she's going to climb. Really hoping she would do that. Then, did not. Okay. We're just going to set this up. Hopefully they will run up the stairs. Same thing going to happen here. I'm going to have him delay his turn, and hopefully one of those two henchmen do get up the stairs here, and we can start fighting. The longer this goes that we're giving them time, the more likely they will all the way up here, and then all fighting one for one. And I will say that that's generally something I like to avoid, as that's when you're going to have the bad time. You can stay back. This is a very passive way of play. This is the way I often play, is I try to split them up as much as I can. It just works the most effective if you can kill 2 or 3 before the whole rest of the force gets there. If not, keep killing them one at a time. It's often really, really effective. I keep him in the corner here. Just in case the other character can get up here and also take a high point. Okay, so he's not going to be able to do anything effective, so we're just going to wait until the turn. And there is nothing wrong with backing up further and further. I have, in fact, had a interesting round of Mordheim where I was fighting against the undead, and they had put everything on their leader, and he was so strong against my low-level characters that I had no hope of ever defeating their leader, even with my whole team attacking him. What we ended up doing was I kept running away from him because he was in heavy armor and was slightly slower than most of my characters. And he never got to fight. He, in fact, ran around a building, had him chase us. Now, it was a bigger building than this. It was more along the size of this. One of the mansions. And we ran the whole way around the building. And because he couldn't catch us, he ended up so far behind that we could pick off some of their henchmen, a hero or two, and then they were already routed.
Has started.
Actually, I may be misremembering that. I think I did actually end up killing their leader because we did catch one of my henchmen, and we just kind of committed it because it was with chaos. But yes, the plan does work. You can definitely kite him. I think I just ended up changing my mind and fitting into the fight. Their leader is definitely stuck at the moment, so we're going to let them continue to be stuck. Just trying to wait and see if we can catch one of their henchmen. If they, it appears they're all getting stuck. Must be. Not quite sure why they're stuck. Yeah, they're not moving. Now, these are difficult situations. They're unwilling to move in. Stairs over here are not out. Not quite sure what they're struggling in terms of. So here's another idea you can do, but again, this is another green approach. You can put a character here to just catch them when they come up the stairs. It won't have as good a coverage as you're hoping, and this bridge is here. All of that's really, really. Now, my next plan, get them to move. You have to almost give them someone to look at. And this character is not too bad for that. Well, we should be careful in which character we do that with. Because it'll be a character that they're going to want to not fight once they get there and can see everybody. We're just going to hold the line here a little bit. I'm actually going to put one of these two characters up there. He can't quite make the distance, so we're just going to set him here. They're probably never going to fight these characters. And here's an interesting one as well. I know I've shown it enough times, but when you get into these little spots here, it doesn't look like you can quite make it without wasting movement. You very much can. You'd be surprised on how forgiving it is on distance. Now we're going to climb, and we did get lucky here. I will say, if you can't get all the way up there, always have it so if they fail, you can run back to your room. A way to climb up over there. So what I'm going to do, because I know they're going to want to come up here, at least give them a target. And I think this is just a weird issue with AI of most of the warband you'll fight. Sometimes they do get stuck. I also had a weird situation where they never saw our warband and they didn't know how to climb, and they all just grouped up in one spot. Fortunately, half of them were still in heavy armor, so we kind of gave them a free look at our leader and then ran him away so they could start moving. Not quite sure the problem with it and why they struggle so much with it, but it's absolutely something they will do. Them having vision is often what changes it. I'm actually going to delay the turn with him because I'm curious if their leader's going to figure out how to get up there. Same with this character, same deal. I'm going to delay the turn, see if we can catch her. And she should change her mind on how to approach us now that someone looking directly at their team. It doesn't appear so. Interesting. I do not know if they're still just stuck there. Now, I could try to climb with him, but with only a 78, that is a little. We may just have to spend another turn here, kind of playing passive. Still very, very stuck. The way they want to approach this. Yeah, they seem to just be skipping turns, so I definitely want to get my archer up there to kind of handle this. If he starts hitting them, it does seem to wake up their, their brains, that they will try to do something. Yeah, they're not moving at all. So we don't need him down here. That hurts a little bit. This could alternatively do the same thing, because someone now has taken damage. Unlikely to do anything. Now, if you have a character here, like he's injured and can't get out of there, always just tuck in your character here. That wants to stop them. You can see there with the zone of control, it really does block any potential charges into that character. So they'll try to walk around to get to him instead, and they'll eat the air. And you can choose how you want to handle that, if it's worth it or not. That is a very complex choice there. Okay, so he can still stay here.
A new round has started.
So, let's show exactly what I'm talking about here. Because you can see they're unwilling to move. And we have 93 damage. Now, I don't think I can move without... I don't think we're getting up there to hit anything without wasting it. Might as well move the full. Okay, so this isn't really the target I want, but we're going to go ahead and just shoot. Hit 19 damage. Now, this is going to upset. Definitely shoot a second time here on a 93. We think we'll catch any of them. That is not my target. However, I think here... not really going to slow anybody down. So it's better to just take the damage. This is different if you're playing Chaos. They, in fact, get extra hit chance on their henchmen when doing Overwatches, so you can weight that a little differently. But in most cases, an Overwatch is only worth it if you truly think stop enemy's ability to reach you from that turn. Okay, this is a learning experience for me. I've never seen them choose to not approach, even after taking. Huh. Okay, well, we're gonna show you how to handle this. This is a very by the numbers kind of thing. If they really, really do not want to approach your warband, you can absolutely sit here and just take your time, as there is no turn limit. Mordheim. And I would like to run these two forward, but it doesn't look like they're going to do that. Okay. Then we're going to change our minds here. We're going to slowly move up our two ranged units. Have them just kind of hop up there. Take a little bit more time than you would think, but that's okay. Gotta be a little careful with this. I don't know how they will approach this. So we're just going to move him back a little bit. We could have him jump down, but that is unnecessary. Have him sit about. It's unlikely he'll take any shots from there, but we're definitely going to hop our... down. Oh, someone's moving. Now, I believe she is running around to go get our archer. That is her goal. So probably going to have to move someone up there or get the archer out of here. That will happen very soon. Let me actually check. She is in heavy armor, so her chance to climb is going to be very poor. If you want to check this and... mouse over character, just use the alt key. That can switch it. I don't believe you're allowed to see their chance to leap and climb, but heavy armor, especially the lower quality versions, very, very much lowers that chance. You can expect them to suffer
round
quite
has started.
a bit. Unsure if I want to... her capabilities of getting up here. If we're talking safety of it all, it'd be better to run away. just so he doesn't get caught by himself. They only have to get the climb once. They'll be up there. Curious if they will actually do something a little bit. I'm actually going to run him back just a little bit. See what they choose. Because now they're moving. That may have been enough to just bring them in. As I said, you really just need to anger them enough to run at you. They're still struggling. You can, usually choose your plan over how long they take to move their characters. Another thing I will recommend as well, because I don't think I mentioned this at any point, it's under gameplay. You can turn on Accelerate AI Turn. You can see I already have that enabled, and it really doesn't make much of a difference. They run slightly faster, and that's about it. I was scared of that setting myself for a long time. But yes, they don't teleport or zip around. You don't have to worry about that. That was the concern I had the longest time. I really didn't want that. I like to see the map kind of play out. It does take some time. I'm going to put him right here because they can't hop up. Cluster right there. But the more they can see of your team, the more likely they are to. This is just a very precarious situation. Early game Mordheim. Now we are dealing with more leveled up characters. We're gonna give it one more turn here. Can do. I was gonna move my units, but it appears I'm not doing that. Doesn't appear they're very scared of us. Huh. She is moving. There we go. Finally have one character making their move. That's all we needed. And I believe once she gets stuck in melee combat, they will all know where we are. Okay. I got a phone call there. Had to take care of that. Now, getting back into it, let's see. What did I miss? I do know that she's stuck on the stairs, and that was a potentially troublesome moment.
A new round has started.
Now, when you have a character like this just approaching, this is another great time to really try and just set up any shots. Now, the angle is a little bit closed there, so we can't get the back shots. We can move here. There is a spot right about here. We will take these shots. The crit chance is 4%. I mean, we're shooting on 94. That is a very, very good amount. Especially with any kind of archery. And really a thing I've started considering with this as well. And this is why range resistance is such a hard stat to use. You get more hit chance and more damage with range just by leveling ballistic skill. And they wear a ton of range resistance that will help them in melee combat, so they can't shoot them while they're engaged. But that's not typically where most of the damage will come from. It is approach. So they will utilize all these points that does not help them against the main danger. Now, if we take a look at her stats here, she is pretty late on the turn. So we're just going to play this a little bit slow. I probably could have delayed that turn just to see how that plays out if they move. But most likely not. This is very quickly going to be in our favor if we can bring her down. They get any value, really. And the other nice thing, being up this high for the 20% hit chance, is being engaged in melee combat will reduce ranged chance by 30%. So reducing that down to only a 10% loss in hit chance is really, really powerful. Okay, here she comes. She's going to take 2 hits. Hopefully. See, we only shot on 70, so that very much could have missed. Neither did a substantial amount of damage. So she goes for a charge and does get the crit. So this is a very bad situation. However, we can hopefully get over there and save him down. That should wake up the AI. And that's the kind of risk of Mordheim, especially early on before you get the toughness you need. I believe the button, that was not the button. It's L for log. We look at it here. She had a 73% chance to hit, which was a pretty good chance. And she did get it. And then my parry chance failed only by a single percent. Then she hits the 5%, which is unfortunate. She did a very big amount of damage to him, and now he'll have the open. Very unfortunate. She's not wearing a shield. Only has 70% chance. This is a good chance. She just hit on a 73. Let's see if we can hit a 70. Unfortunately not. And that is kind of the thing that Mordheim is all about. Getting very
A new
unlucky with
round
hits
has
here and there.
started.
It can happen. Now let's see what our chance to hit. Now, in this scenario, you will see we have a 64. Originally, in these kind of percentages, I would say you should aim, because that's 20% hit chance. 84 sounds a heck of a lot better. However, you're probably better if you're going to chunk a hit. You're going to lose a chance to shoot off of reloading. I would recommend against it unless you're under, and this is your own personal opinion. For me, I say under 50% might be it. Probably leaning more towards 60%. Because it's more chances, and if things roll your way. If she were to go down and say 1 hit, I would recommend, yeah, just go ahead and aim, because you only need 1 hit. But now you can see we got 2 hits. There was a chance there that we would have gotten pretty much nothing out. Next thing I'd like to do here is her health. Very, very low. So what I'm going to do, a good example, if he only had 5 points, better off walking in to swing twice because he would hit on 90% instead of charging on 80. You get our first hit. Now, here's a interesting thing to do. She is not a target. I don't know why she brought a... what I'm going to do is try to move him up. And this is perhaps abuse of mechanics, but every time you loot, reposition yourself, and you get a new center. What I want to do is move him up right here. We're going to try and use a dodge state to really close off any potential angles of attack against my ally here. Now, they could just fight him, and that would be bad. However, I would rather that than them get more chances to hit. There's still an opportunity. If she goes up the stairs, she can go through that door and get him pretty much for free. Stuns are guaranteed hits. Doesn't look like they did. Okay, so that is fortunate for us. He should be able to stand up here. Continue with the plan. A little surprised that she ended up actually taking the charge. An interesting decision. Now, she's going to try to walk in here. Miss, unfortunately. However, that's okay. Now she's pretty much stuck here. She's forced to fight a character she probably did not want to fight. Now, she did get both of her hits. That will happen. However, we did get 2 hits as well. So, this character's injured, and this is a perfect thing I wanted to talk about. Now, at 91 health, he's still got a decent amount of health. If you keep an eye on, kind of the damage, or you just look at a character, say we look at this character. We can assume, just based off of, where characters are, who can approach, what can they do with it. So say if we look at her, she has 24 to 36 damage. She has 6 offensive points. Let's assume she runs up and starts fighting. What she can do is swing 3 times. We assume her maximum roll, we're dealing with about 108 damage. Obviously does not have 108 damage. However, he does have 10% damage reduction. Now, we don't know what her weapon is at the moment. It could be a flail, and it would armor pierce a little bit. But these are all hypotheticals that she high rolls on all of them and doesn't. You can't really play around with crits because they happen when they want to happen. But we can assume she hits the 108 by 10. 10 damage off of it. Could roll it up to 11, but that'll bring it back down to about 98. So she could kill this character if she, rolled lucky and hit everything. So you definitely don't want him still in the front line in this game. However, this is something that I've been learning to do, or perhaps I've been utilizing, is I will keep them back, but still close enough that they can run in to do some damage if the situation calls or needs for it. At the moment, we don't really have space to fight that unit. And the thing you can also do, there's no traps here, so they may try to run around to get to him. You can just simply put a character in the way to kind of protect him. Oh, and we see a character here. Now, she is sitting at a 37. That is a very low amount, and he can only shoot once anyway. So we're going to go ahead and try to aim 157. Usually when a hit chance is below 60% on range, I find that it's often just expected to be a miss, but it's never a bad idea to do that anyway. There's nothing to really overwatch that I expect to come at any point. Now we get incredibly lucky and get the hit. And end his turn. And we have a chance here with our 2-hander. Henchman there. Take a swing. Now, he could get more damage from charging, but there's no need to do that because she is so low health, any hit would do it. Now, we're going to keep him close in case he does still miss this here. At an 81, he does not. Okay, that is good. She's not a target, and she most likely does not have any loot that we want. So we are just going to back here a little bit. And I'm actually going to run him to about right here. Put him in an defensive stance of dodge. Not expecting it to work.
A new round has started.
Is really what's going to happen. He's reloaded. We probably will not get a chance to do a lot of hits with him. Only 2. So I'd rather Overwatch to maybe slow down any potential attacks. This character doesn't need to do anything at the moment. I think what we'll do is move him back ever so slightly here around the corner, and we're going to delay his turn. Okay, so we'll see if they come up here to attack. That may happen now that they've lost 2 characters. Doesn't appear that they're going to do that. A major thing to keep in mind when playing this, specifically versus the sisters, is there is a talent for them that is specific to their faction that will reduce the chance that they will fail the morale check when it gets lower. Um, Now, it is a really poor perk to use as the player. However, the AI will use this because they don't have to worry about injuries. Best to always assume they just trained it because I find that they often have 1 or 2 trained with it, which gives them that extra bit. It shows up and it keeps them in. And it can potentially get one of your characters also taken out because they will use that one last hurrah of extra morale or an extra turn effectively to take out your low health character. So do keep that in mind when fighting against really any warband, but this is much, much more likely against the Sisters of Sigmar because they can grab that skill. Okay, it doesn't appear that they are going to make the move here again. Now, this guy is more of a damage dealer, so I'm not trying to set
A new
up an
round
ambush.
has started.
I could do that, but it doesn't seem that we need to. Don't think we're seeing many of our targets. Now, both of our targets are sitting over there, which is fine. We're just kind of letting her stuck. This is abusive mechanics, but they're going to do it. Let them do it anyway. You could fix it by just running down here and start fighting here, which can work. This is more of a tutorial for making the best choice and winning rather than playing it. Game its intended way to play. Especially these early levels, it's super, super critical to keeping as many of your characters alive so they don't have to take injuries and get blinded. Even if they take an injury that doesn't matter, like there's some that it's a grievous wound, that it doesn't necessarily do. I forget the name of it, but there's one that basically takes them out of action for 5 weeks. It says 5, but it means 4 because it counts the week they were on that they just got the injury. But for 4 missions, that is a lot of potential XP that can be taken away from the have to keep that. It does look like this mission is taking a lot longer than I expected. We may just have to move out and fight them there. But I guess we'll just go over this now since it doesn't look like we're going to get a chance here. What we could hope, the plan here, and we can still set this up while moving out, but I can't guarantee that. The plan was if anything else would start here, say they come up this way and they start fighting here, or they have a lot of characters here, and we really just don't have someone to help or the bot available and they're almost down, you can always swing this character out from that point. Kind of just fight in that spot for that emergency situation, but he's not effectively in the front line to be in danger. That is a very powerful use of it, and with the way I'm building this is a lot of toughness and strength. And when they get to heavy armor, this is a very, very powerful tactic to use because you can effectively utilize their heavy armor until they're down to under 100 health and then start using them that way. And then they still can take another turn or 2 of damage if it's directed at them. Yet they're still able to do complete damage anyway, and there's less and less chance of them getting injured. The other part of that strategy, once they're trained, is also that they're going to have so much toughness and the skill I will be showing after this mission that will show basically makes them near uncrittable outside of extreme situations. And you can handle those situations if you wish. I just find it's not effective use of your points to go any further.
A new round has started.
Outside of maybe 1 or 2 extra percentage chance. It really doesn't appear that they are going to be. Guess we'll see if we can climb up here. Did get lucky with that. Quite surprised. Okay, so we're just going to go ahead and move him out here, see if anybody tries to make a change. I don't know if this happens for anyone else, but if your characters ever go invisible or the enemy, sometimes you can flail the camera around and it will eventually do that. What I have found, thanks to ranged characters, is they're getting moved kind of a starting position off of the map. And they make all of their actions there, but they know the position should be here. They know the positioning, it just doesn't move the model into position. Very, very strange. Very, very strange. And flailing the camera seems to sometimes bring them back. Sometimes it does not. And I believe that is my own system that's really doing that. I just can't tell you that with certainty. You see it, that is the fix. Now, I have only seen this situation most recently. Well, I've seen it for a long time now, but when I first got the game, that did not exist. Until I moved over to a one may just have something deep in its system that is cursed by Mordheim. That could be the opportunity. But staying on point for tutorial purposes, we can see that them seeing this guy up here again has kind of enticed them to move. That is actually one of our characters. That's good. Now, soon we may be getting the situation.
A new round has started.
We will kill this character off, and we'll get her item, and we'll have one left. She is stuck over there, and we could maybe do something about it. However, we have to value if we can do it. I do not believe you can check morale impact of a character. Yes, you can. You can see that her morale impact is in fact 20. Quite substantial. Their leave point is 41. And they're at 75. We reduce this by 13 with this character going down, which is actually a very low amount. Which will leave them at 62. So her morale impact being 20, we could take her out of action and we would be fine. If we look over here, couldn't take out 2 more henchmen. They're all worth about 13. And we've already killed one of their heroes and a henchman. We're about to get another one. But this is our target that we want to get. She's only worth 16 because she's mimicking our caster over here. Strange way. I'm not sure what the reasoning is that sometimes they're missing points. I believe for her, she has an injury. What I think. Doesn't look like we get a free shot here. So end his turn. We're just going to go ahead and try to speed this all up here. It does appear that they're just not going to attack us. They're going to do it one by one, which is this is pretty much the perfect way to see Mordheim go. Because we're going to get another amazing amount of damage here. Oh, well, that's even more potent. Now, this is an interesting situation here. Because we can get a lot of potential damage here. She's at 73 health, and he could definitely just charge and finish her off. With him being our lowest level character, I think... actually, our henchman over there is our lowest health character. And we could use him for that. However, getting a caster higher level is always important to get the full use. We're going to go ahead and just feed him the experience here. It's also his turn, so it works out. Keep that in mind here and there. Not sure why they're bringing potions. They will do that as kind of a counter to your warband if they can't really get a feel for what your focus of the warband is. And it appears they are having that struggle. You know what? I forgot to... Very important.
Objective completed.
Okay.
Objectives updated.
Now, one more target to hunt down. And I think we're going to try and go for that. I doubt them making the move the way we want. This character will have to stay here. We're going to try to entice the other character to come in. If we can help it. I'm going to go ahead and take kind of an aggressive stance here with a few of our characters, since it's not going to do too much against us. Now we have to make the choice. Do we think this character is going to move? I'm going to say most likely not. So I'm going to go ahead and have him jump down. Him right here, just in case. We're going to try to move all of them up, hunt down our other remaining target. She does make her move. Now we can only hope that we also see the same move out of their other hero. Spot is still open. Take a look at the map. She's in this building here. Oh, and there she is. Okay, fantastic. So we can definitely move up there to maybe get a few hits here. I do not believe he can reach there because his weapon is still a lower quality.
A new round has started.
Oh, he actually can. That's just fortunate. We're going to go ahead and just try to get the damage there. We do have to keep in mind that when she goes down, we have to go get the item, and their leader is still standing right there. Go ahead and try to go for this. Honestly, secondary objectives for me are still something that I don't prioritize with absolute certainty. I will never risk a unit for it unless I'm certain that unit has most things in his favor that he won't go down. Just going to leave the leader here to catch them. Play in. Looks like he's not going to be able to get anything. So I'm going to have him move in here and be backup for this unit. Reason for that is just so he can charge out there if he has to, and everyone else can. No one gets surrounded. Very important part of the shoot all the way down there on a 72%. Actually, going to not do that. I'm gonna do this. Watch. It's unlikely that they will focus on that unit anyway. Actually going to put him right about here. Hoping I give them enough room to move. More of a way to block the door without committing. Okay, so we moved him forward just a little bit because due to the nature of what we have going on, have to be prepared for them. Up from behind, and we need to have some of our characters. What I'm going to do is actually run up here as best I can. Hit. I say free hit, but a 90% is not a free hit. I'm going to go ahead and put him there to hopefully open up the space. That is unfortunate for an Overwatch to hit there. I mean, I don't mind that it hit. I just wish it been used on that character. Unfortunately, missed the ambush. My luck with ambushes is quite low. Not quite sure why, but sometimes it feels like ambushes have more than a 10% reduction to hit chance. Now, what's going to happen with the hero? Because this is what I was talking about here. That hero will now change her mind on which way to go. She will run over to... actually, I was wrong. Did try to climb up to fight our henchman there. Okay, she's going to use points here and then probably charge. Or do something unbelievable. Unfortunately for her, this is a phrase I like to use. That is getting Mordheimed, because there's not really any reason that should have went that badly for her. But this does happen. It does absolutely happen, and now she's pretty much stuck here. We can get 2 characters in here, and with him having a 2-hander, we're just going to go ahead and take a hit here. 158, and he can just hang out.
A new round has started.
Okay, don't have a lot of choices here. Now, in this case, here's what's happening. We will never get our 3 shots out of this character. We're going to take 1 shot, and we did get the hit, but we're going to have to reload on 2, and we're not going to be able to reload another one. So it's best we just aim anyway, because we aren't going to get the shot. Whether that... Actually, that did change our opinion on whether we were better. Okay, well. I didn't expect this man to get 2 free kills, but it looks like that's where we're going to go ahead and take down this unit. Now, the next thing I really want to keep in mind...
Objective completed. ...is
we still have a stunned unit. So they see that, and they will push everything towards our stunned unit. Because those are free hits. They will value that higher than saving their own units or, you know, helping in another fight. It's just what they value. We are getting very lucky with this mission. And there you go. There's another target down. What I'll do with him is we're just going to go ahead and block this off as usual. No one can round that corner. Now, I do believe they're pretty much done here. They're not going longer. I'm going to go ahead and run this one away. Actually, I'll just keep them in position. If they really favor going up there to attack him, then so be it. We didn't get to show off exactly what I meant with him. But I don't think that's a big... next thing I'm going to do here, actually, I'm going to tuck him in. And the reason for that is that gives them enough room to run by him, but they can't go up for my archer. See, getting stunned really did not do him any favors. And you can see they actually stayed. Now, in this case, it's not going to help them. There's no one who's low enough health that that's going to matter. But they still favored it anyway. Now, we have a henchman stuck back there. We may end up taking out their leader. This is another thing you can keep in mind. If you're fighting and you're close to their cart and they stay, taking their idol does hit their morale. So you can choose to do such a thing. Just to force another check.
A new round
now,
has
you cannot
started.
take the idol and then put it back. That will not force it. If you take it and put it on someone's body, if you want actual loot, that does work. But you cannot just put it right back in their... I have not attempted to take it and just put it into their own cart's chest. But you can absolutely do that. Okay. Now we have another target here. She actually has to stop her turn right there. That would be excellent. Doesn't look like we get the luck there. Not quite sure where she just went. She definitely did not come up the stairs. Now this is something that looks like a plan. Just kind of hiding. Position there. That'll make it hard for us to actually fight her. That is okay. Going to fall back and just try to hold this out. We're going to put him here like this, just so they can't charge through. If anything goes kind of strange, we don't have to. Getting a lot of value out of Overwatches. definitely something to keep in mind. Now, I know I haven't been reading out the percentages on my hit chance for every swing, but you kind of get the feel for it after a while, what you can expect. Now, another thing I think that's important to note with early Mordheim that makes a pretty big difference. Why it's so difficult. Get an angle. I can't go out any further, so it doesn't look like we're getting the angle. If I had a blunderbuss, we could absolutely do it. However, no. I think we're going to get any extra luck there. So what I'm going to do is just put them here, just stairs, or going out that door if they choose. It's unfortunate to have to kind of wait it out and just let each of their units run in, but it happens.
A new round has started.
Okay. Here and wait for the leader to figure out if she really does want to help this round or not. Did shoot a little early there on a 30%, but they will choose times. Excellent hit. Font is an interesting one. The AI will train this very frequently to make it very costly to try and disengage from a fight or even use flee. However, I am not entirely certain that it is worth the points. It's very rare to see such a thing happen. We did get unlucky there, missing 2 out of our 3 swings on a 89% chance. However, she was pretty much doomed anyway, so that makes no difference. Could have maybe let our two-handed henchman get the kill here, but that's okay. We've already got a secondary objective victory, which is factor here. Recently, I have been doing a lot of brutal and deadly missions. And they are interesting, but usually not worth it. Very, very not worth it in the earlier stages of a campaign where war is out of your control and they're doing an extra 35% damage. Okay, so we're just going to go ahead and do an Overwatch here and see if we get to leave. So in this case, we can see they absolutely trained to stay because it didn't even check the roll. Usually you can see that they rolled for it and won the value. This one it isn't, so they must have trained a lot of it. So our choice here is to attempt to take out their leader. Doesn't seem to have too much potency, all things considered. So how we're going to handle this is I'm going to run this unit down here. I'm going to go ahead and set up an ambush for her. See if she comes around the corner.
A new round has
and
started.
We're just going to go ahead and see if we can get some damage here. That did mess up his positioning, but that's okay. Okay, run him out here. A 68. We're probably only going to get... Well, here's something interesting here. So we can take a shot. Let's see. Get the hit. And now the next thing we want to do, kind of move. I call this scuttling. Because you get to move just slightly more. And then you get to fire. And we do miss on an 83%. But do not give up hope here. Scuttle a little bit more. Then we reload. Scuttle just a little bit more. Fire again. It looks like 83 was the max we were going to get anyway. He has a pretty decent shield. Now we're going to have to take her down either way. But we're going to go ahead and go for loot here. He's in high health, so it's unlikely she's going to choose it. Now, that could be wrong, and she does. But with him having 183 health, her chance of doing that seems very low. She's also going to waste points. She's going to choose not to fight us. Yeah, this is a very unfortunate situation where they just refuse to do anything. Now, again, she can do quite a bit of damage, but I don't think we have to worry too much. I do believe she is not in heavy armor. Typically, you'll find them in heavy armor, just not in this case. Now, I don't think I can get an angle from here. Fortunately, not. I might be able to run out here and get one. No. So, in these kind of situations, it can be really tough to utilize your character, but what we're going to do is just kind of put him right. And he's going to follow up as well. We're going to put enough characters out here that by the time she does anything, it will. Try firing magic. Now, she does resist on a 9%. Magic's always scary, because that was a 25% chance we get punished. We're going to do it again, maybe to show off a punishment of magic. Does not resist the second one. I'm usually very unfortunate with magic. Okay, well, that one's not bad. That one's just damage. That is probably your best case scenario and what you can get. Them getting extra damage. I'm actually going to leave him up here just to ensure she doesn't try to approach this way. See what she does. Okay, so this is our injured unit here. What we're going to do with him is kind of utilize him to run around and grab. In these scenarios, it's best to do this anyway. Grab what you can. Now, this is a hard difficulty mission. So, if all of our team's alive, we'll be getting 5% of the remaining loot per alive teammate. We have currently 8 units. Should. Okay, we have 8 units alive, so we're going to be getting about 40% of the loot because of the hard difficulty. And it would be 32% on normal. Get him out here. And you can see, so this is another thing. She trained Divine Revelation, which is only useful for stopping ranged attacks. Gives them quite a bit of range resistance. It does work here in the low levels, but it quickly falls off. The interesting part of this is she's got all this extra points to counter something that is only meant to weaken them before our main damage shows up.
A new round has started.
Still has Divine Revelation. Out of 58, we're going to go ahead and just shoot 3 times. And see what happens. Another thing to keep in mind as well is if you get the chance, you can always check their cart. You never know what's in there. Surprised we got 2 out of 3 hits here, but hey, sometimes we're lucky. We're going to go ahead and delay his turn because I believe this is the turn that she will finally move. Excellent. She goes for a taunt as well, which does work. Now, she's casted this for more damage. This is not effective early on. She will get 2 swings, though. Never mind, she will get 1 because she went for vital. Which is definitely not the best thing in the world. I must have miscounted her points. Or I believe when she casts a spell, her next auto attack is this. That's also a nice thing there. Did take her down, and it immediately dropped their morale to 0. It doesn't matter if you won't route. 0 morale is 0 morale. We do actually get a extra set of blue light armor, which is very nice for our team.
A warrior needs a bit of luck and a lot of skill to win a battle.
Task.
But most of all, he needs strat.
Okay, so that was a longer mission, and these missions will happen. That is the best way to deal with that kind of situation. Even that last bit there was a little bit dicey, but we only had one major unit to worry about, and we weren't risking anyone who was low health. He was injured, but he wasn't at risk of dying. And she ended up not even really doing any damage whatsoever. She did do one vital strike, which hurt, but not a big deal. Almost got level 5 on this character here, but where he's at, we're really just looking for a blue. We did get unfortunately hit with a crit there.
Fantastic.
On him, which is fine.
Fantastic.
Got him to level 3. Now, interesting thing with that is that if he sticks with the
Remarkable. New warriors are available for hire.
Oh, okay, fantastic.
Your warband is getting stronger.
So what happened here is we got to level 4 and we can get another heal. At level 5, we'll get the final slot there. And we will go over that when we get to it, but every warband at rank 5 will unlock their final hero slot. And what I actually mean by that is not only this slot here, but you're going to unlock 2 class types. You're going to unlock a 3rd type of hero. And you will also unlock impressives that take 2 heroes. Now we will go over both of them. In a first playthrough scenario, I think you should try both. And impressives are something I really want to go over because they do change how you should approach every mission. It is very, very frightening to deal with impressives if you do not know what you're dealing with. So we are going to aim to get to level 5 here. Now, it appears we have them already, so that must show up at level 4. But there you are. So level 4 is when you get that. Level 5 is the unless I wasn't paying attention and he was there the whole time. But yeah, you typically get a 3rd hero type. For mercenaries, you get the champion, which has a very good strength toughness build. His agility is very low at 10. That is very hard to make him evasive on that kind of number. You can get this with a proper build, up to, say, around 90%. You can go higher than that by having your offhand be empty or even losing an arm. That can bring it up higher. I would not recommend either of those things, as you're giving up so much effective damage for just dodge chance. But we're actually going to add this hero in.
Task
Anyway,
completed.
we even get a task for recruitment. Now, I don't think that raised our veteran skill. Let's take a look. So we're still leveling that up. You can see you get to about level 3 pretty quickly on. And also another thing you might be able to do. I know I talked about this a little bit before. Negotiator is still the best one to grab. Now, as far as second ones, I like Explorer personally. However, a very effective one, if gold is a concern, Commander, rank 1 and 2 are both very, very helpful, especially if you're going to grab an impressive at rank 5. Commander is very, very nice. It can save you 16 gold per week. It's not a huge amount of gold, but it's very effective. The reason I'm pointing this out is if money is your concern, you may be enticed by some of these down here, like merchant, haggler, selling price, or evaluator, so buying prices are less. These usually don't end up being too important. Can get a good bit here out of evaluator and haggler, but as a fresh warband, it's very unlikely you're going to see that value, and most of your money's going to be from picking up work. So definitely important to be picking that up as much as you can. But the main one here, and one I fell for myself, is healer. Now, healer sounds good. Treatment cost being reduced by 4 gold when mastered or 2 gold when usual sounds nice. However, if you just compare the healers for treatment cost versus commander, at max rank, a leader and impressive gets their cost reduced by 8, while healer reduces a heal cost by 4. For you to get better value out of healer, you have to have 3 injuries per week to be making, effectively getting the value out of it compared to commander's guaranteed, because you're always stuck with a commander. That's ignoring if you have an impressive. It adds so many more injuries, there's no way to make that work. So healer is definitely one of those veteran skills that is very, very poor once you really look at it. Yeah, you're going to get some injuries, but some injuries you're just going to pay them just to get them out of there. I'm going to go ahead and pay the 6 gold here. And then pay recruitment costs. So he is up to 15 leadership. Now, I don't know where we're going with him. There are some fantastic leadership options. And I think what I will do here as well, maybe for late game, there is a very interesting build that I like to call the cheerleader build under the skill here, order. Seems very daunting at 4 offensive points. And what this one does is it just forces a free attack on someone else. This is a really interesting build if you're going to have an impressive. When you see the stats of the impressive, it will make more sense. Now, the main important thing that I wanted to show off, if I haven't yet, is toughness. So you can see this man here, our leader, is at 9 toughness. 9 toughness will give us the important thing, a lot more health, and 9% critical resistance, which isn't a lot. You can see, even on that mission, previous one, some of their characters had about 15% crit chance. Now, for them to have 15% crit chance, they're going to have to commit a lot to crit, and they're going to lose out on some weapons. However, at 9 toughness, what you can train, if you have the money, right now I would not recommend it. If you have maybe 3,000, you can consider it on a unit, and you have a few days to leave them out, is Resilient. Resilient giving you 10% crit hit resistance is actually very, very powerful. Now, there is a mastered version. I do not recommend that. It is not worth it. You can use your skill points other places, but the first rank of Resilient is very, very powerful. Because what that will do, at 9 toughness with Resilient, you will end up with 19% crit resist, which is a very, very high amount of crit that they have to overcome to even get a crit. Now, what tends to happen when this shows up is they may start prioritizing Vital Strike. If he had Resilient, when they used Vital Strike in the previous mission, they had a 21% chance to crit with that. It would have been about 11, which is still scary. However, that is quite low. To have used a 3-point attack like that, try and crit. Resilient is a very, very powerful ability. I would argue that it is one of, if not the best cost to effect ratio. Yeah, it takes 3 days. Yeah, it's 300 gold. However, what it does is very, very potent. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and continue with this here. I don't even think we need more leadership. Take a look. There's specifically one ability here. There it is. Battle Tongue that goes with order that reduces its cost by 1. It's very, very good for that. Now, retreat is something I don't really have, but that one's interesting. You can force disengages on characters that might not do it. I don't mind that one. I've never used it, but it might be something fun to try down the line if we really don't have other points. I don't recommend it. If you're going to do this at all, you're doing order with the other ability because it's point commitment and the whole thing is ready to go. But you will see why when we get to the point that we have an impressive. So we don't really need leadership higher than 15%. There is nothing that demands more. At this point, leadership just gives him more morale and will make him less likely to be fear and terror. Honestly, I don't mind it because having all alone at nothing means you can honestly leave this character way out by himself, and it will be fine. Now, we won't be doing that, as that is a very risky way to play it. Now, with archers, the interesting thing is I'm going to say go above 9 toughness for them, because they will not be getting resilient. They will just go to 12 toughness because that is the best utilization of the points. We'll explain more of that in the future. Now, for other characters, what I tend to do is I might just say get leadership to max. If they can be, affected by fear and terror for story mission purposes. It is really bad to have them unable to do anything for multiple turns, stuck under fear and terror. Now, with this character, this is kind of your free choice here. I think as far as henchmen are concerned, you can go to 9 toughness or 9 strength first. I'm going to say toughness just to get rid of the crits. Not to train resilient yet. Just want to have them so they have the highest chance to not get crit. Or if they do, they have a high chance of just staying alive and not dying in that turn. Okay, we're just going to get some levels in here. Nothing too important. Now, for this character, he has some spells. He has Blinding Light that can get maxed at 9. His final ability is Fireball. I've seen this used quite frequently by the AI. It is not the most powerful move. You would think a Fireball that takes all this commitment would be good. Its damage is quite weak. Lightning Strike is a much more interesting one. Yes, it is an AoE, but it goes through armor, which is quite interesting for, high armor story mission characters. Although, the best thing you can train with this guy here is this spell. Curse of Rust. If you ever get the money for it, you can see it only costs 100, 1 day of training. So I could start this and he'd have it for the next day. You would want to master this because it can reduce the armor absorption by 40%. Some of your story-based fights are going to have characters boasting a very high 60 to 75% armor, and being able to cut it by 40% is very, very potent. And his value to do that cannot be understated. This is probably one of the best spells in the game. It can't reduce armor absorption below 0, but that's not a big deal. That is just still potent, even if you're reducing it a little bit over that, because having effectively true damage means a lot. I wouldn't say to cast this if they have 15% armor absorption, because that's very little. But Curse of Rust is very, very powerful. Story missions, Undead, very, very potent. Because they will often put a lot of heavy armor on their leader, and you can bring them down to nothing and then get rid of him a heck of a lot easier. This spell is the exact reason most will tell you heavy armor isn't good. Although, for a PvE perspective, you don't have to worry about this too much, as armor is just kind of a addition to your strength, not the entire crux of it. So we're going to go ahead and keep him going for dodge. So an interesting thing, keep in mind, with spells, is unless you're trying to go for damage with spells, which I think we will be, just to show off Lightning Strike, spell might be an interesting one. For only one mission in particular, do I think that one might be useful. Don't know if this can be resisted either. I haven't tested this one, but this one could be nice. But if you're going to go for, say, Lightning Strike, this could be very useful. Dispel, I wouldn't. Lightning Strike's an interesting idea. You could definitely go for it because the damage with max intelligence is pretty potent. You will be adding effectively 60% damage. You can already see that it went up compared to what we were just at. It's adding about 2 damage per intelligence. And these can't crit, of course, but something to keep in mind. Let's just go ahead and get these last levels. We're still trying to get him to level 3. Not that it matters. Guns can only use one ability. If you're going to use guns as a mercenary, I will recommend, if you're going to use guns the whole way through, Sniper Shot is a very, very powerful ability. Because you're only going to shoot once with guns ever, Sniper Shot will use every single one of their maximum rank of points, which they get about level 7 or 8. I'm trying to remember which. But at that level, Sniper Shot does everything you want it to do. It gives you 5% crit. It gives you 25% hit. It is effectively aim at a slightly less valuable event in most scenarios if you were using a bow. If you're using a gun, Sniper Shot will be better because you're only ever going to shoot once. Do keep that in mind. If you're utilizing bows, do not use Sniper Shot. Have guns, use Sniper Shot. And I believe that's all of our characters there. Now the shop has not refreshed in a little bit here. I think you can do is try to sell some of them. If you really need money, sell your consumables. Antitoxin. Yep, there's another one. Mandrake Root. A lot of these are really hard to utilize and you could never be prepared. Just go ahead and sell them. Like things here. Fighting Claws. No one can use those. So you can go ahead and get rid of them. There's plenty of things. Unfortunately, the lowest quality stuff will not be important, but potions are a great way to get your money back up. Try not to sell your healing potions and your open wound reduction. These are the 2 potions that you want to keep. Of both qualities, purple and blue, keep them. Always useful. Okay, soon we'll get to show off our third character. And he's a perfect example of using a 2-hander because he has the 5. Then keeping him in the back is also very, very effective. We're going to go ahead and slap him in blue light armor here. Now, if you want him to come along and just survive as best as he can, it might be okay just to slap him into some heavy armor. That also works. Okay, everything seems fine. We'll go ahead and say next mission. Now, the main thing we're trying to aim for here is to get our points up so we can take on this Act 1, Mission 3. Now, the best way to do that, and I will recommend, you should probably just ignore story missions until you have your warbands ranked to level 5 and you have your full team. That will make this a lot easier. It's really just not any better to do it earlier because you're just denying a lot of experience to characters that might want that. And it does get a lot easier later once you have a warband leveled up to 5, I believe, that you can start any warband at level 5, so you don't have to do this part where you're missing out on slots, so everyone stays around the same range. But unfortunately, we don't get this luck because it is a first playthrough. Just do keep that in mind. If it's not going as well as this tutorial is, if you're playing alongside it, yeah, it's still worth it to keep trying to fight through it a little bit. Just don't lose hope. Keep trying to do that. And just remember that in the early stages, you definitely want to use a 2-hander over dual wield. And then dual wield is still over a basic 1-hander and shield, barring any blue. That will be it for this video. Sorry, this one's a longer one. That mission did take a little bit, but I think we got over some topics we really wanted to talk about. And hopefully we will catch you guys in the next video.